Alright guys, I'm going to do a review today. I guess it's not really a review, more of an initial unboxing and presentation, if you will, of a new gun that I just got. So before I show it to you, this is a gun I've been looking forward to for, I don't know, at least 5 if not 6 years. And it's none other than the Polish PM-63, otherwise known as the Polish PM-63 RAK. Now in this case, this gun has the designation of PM-63C. And what this is a new offering here in the United States by Pioneer Arms and Interarms. And it's basically a semi-auto conversion of the famous Polish machine pistol, or submachine gun, if you will. And as a lot of you probably know, these parts kits have been available for a while. And I also have one of those, so I'm going to do a comparison in a little bit of a few parts. And I do have a parts kit handy. Here's my original parts kit slide, Circle 11. This one's made in 1969. I also have a portion of the torch cut receiver from the parts kit, and a few other odds and ends that I'm going to show you today. I didn't feel like bringing all the little nuts and bolts of the parts kit out because that might be boring for most of you. But anyways, the gun I have here today is an offering that's just come into the country, like within the last week. And this is the much anticipated semi-automatic pistol version. So I'm just going to show you guys a few little things here. It comes in the box with a 25 round magazine, as I have inserted here. It also comes with a holster, and this holster is new and unissued. Completely new, not even any creases in the leather. So yeah, basically brand new. Which makes sense because my parts kit I have, everything's brand new too. The gun looks like it was completely unissued, possibly test fired at the most before it was cut up into a kit. And I'm suspecting that this current offering was the same thing. I'm sure Poland must have used some of these guns, but apparently a lot of them they didn't. So it comes with this. Comes with an owner's manual. I don't really care about the owner's manual, guys, but for those of you that do care, it's about as plain Jane as it gets. I mean, there's information in here. There's as much information as you'll probably need. Takedown procedures, a bunch of safety stuff, legal jargon, how to clear a malfunction. But it's basically just printed on regular old printer paper, just black and white. It doesn't really stand out as a nice manual, but hey, I guess it gets the job done, and who really cares, right? But here's your manual. It also comes with a 15 round magazine, which I'll open up later. I figure why bother right now. So 15 round mag, 25 round mag. It also comes with a new, appears to be unissued and never used cleaning kit. You've got kind of this little pill bottle type container here. Cleaning rod, brush, and a jag. So it does come with that, which is also items that I received with my parts kit. So these appeared to be pretty standard issue with each of these that left the factory when they were built. So anyways, about this gun a little bit. This gun was originally developed in the early 60s in Poland. Officially, I believe it started actual production or use in 1965, or roundabouts. Continued production until 1974. And this is originally a machine pistol. It fires the 9mm Makarov, which is the 9x18. Not to be confused with 9x19, a regular 9mm. 9x18 is obviously a little bit shorter, but it also features actually a larger projectile than the 9x19. So this definitely takes, its own cartridge. Absolutely not compatible in any way with a 9x19, 9mm Luger, Parabellum, whatever you want to call it. That's not going to work in this gun. So, yeah, it's a 9mm Makarov. Now, this particular gun we're looking at here is a semi-auto conversion. And it's sold by Pioneer Arms Corporation, is the importer. See if I can get it to focus on that roll mark. It says Pioneer Arms Corp, South Daytona, Florida. And then it has a little engraving that says on the top, there's like a little logo, and it says Radom, Poland. Now, when we're talking Pioneer Arms, Radom, Poland, don't be confused with the FB Radom factory, the Circle 11 factory. That's a little bit different. Radom, see, isn't the name of the factory. Radom's actually a town in Poland. So that'd be no different than saying, you know, Ford of Detroit, Michigan. Detroit's the city, Ford's the company. So Radom's actually the city that Pioneer's out of. And, you know, Radom's the city and Pioneer's the actual company in Poland that also has a stateside division that they're using to import. The other interesting thing here on this gun, for the actual maker's mark, is we have an Interarms roll mark here. So this says Interarms, Radom, Poland, PM-63C, caliber 9x18. So Interarms is another company that is also located in the town of Radom, Poland. Now, I'm not sure if all of a sudden Interarms and Radom have some type of business partnership. Last time I checked, they weren't the same company. Maybe someone in the comments can correct me, but I believe them to be separate companies. Now, I don't know if they've partnered just on this project or if they're now business associates. I could only guess, but I'm already getting a little confused right now with the dual markings, with the Pioneer Arms and then also the Interarms. So, but it is what it is. It's on both. Now, a lot of things on this gun were changed to make it where it's a legal semi-auto pistol import. But a couple of things still remain the same. Quite a few of the things remain the same, really. And if we look here on the slide, we can see the original Circle 11 roll mark from 1971. Now, this is the Circle 11 that most people associate with the now FB Radom plant. Interesting thing is, when this gun was made, though, in 71, it was actually the Luxnick Radom. So, same factory, it's just changed names a few times. It was FB Radom, then it was Luxnick, and now it's known as FB Radom again. So, just to kind of clear that up for you guys. This gun, originally, the original parts that are still with this, version, were made in the Luxnick Radom factory in the town of Radom, Poland. A company named Interarms did the semi-auto and the pistol conversion in the town of Radom, Poland. And then another company called Pioneer Arms, who's also in the town of Radom, Poland, imported it to their stateside subsidiary, and that would be Pioneer Arms Corporation of the United States. So, sorry if that confuses you, but it is unfortunately kind of that complicated. So this gun is kind of an original Radom gun, because the original parts, but it's kind of just also made by a couple of companies that are in the town of Radom. So anyways, I'm just going to show you guys a couple little things, and I'm going to completely torture myself and try to take this apart on camera, guys. So, you're going to see what I mean in a minute. Before this video, I thought I should just take it apart once, twice, just to make sure I could do it right. And I had some problems. And I've tried it a couple more times, and I'm still having problems. But, in full disclosure, I'm going to kind of show you guys some of the good and the bad and almost kind of the ugly about this gun. And before I say anything else, like I said earlier, I've been really looking forward to this gun for a long time, guys. So I'm going to try not to be too critical, but I'm going to start right off the bat with saying this is really not quite what I was hoping for. So we're going to start off by just looking at the finish of the gun. So as soon as I took this gun out of the wrapper, I was kind of like, what's this? And I noted that it has a real drab, rough, parkerizing type finish. Now, the camera's probably not going to pick it up too much. I mean, it's not quite sandpaper rough, but let's just say it feels like a parkerizing. Definitely. It's definitely some type of finish that has a little bit of a coating on it. Now, the original slide that I have here from my parts kit, this is a blued slide. And you can just see the light reflecting in the camera, that rich blue luster. And you can really just tell by the way it has that mirror shiny finish. I mean, part of what makes the original PM-63 so cool to me is just that dark bluing. I mean, when you look at this bluing, think like if you have one of those Circle 11 P64 pistols. You know how they're just really nicely machined, just impeccable machining, polishing, and a really nice, deep, shiny blue finish? That's how this original slide looks. Also, if you think like a Polytech AK, for example, or even a Mac 90, in all honesty, where it just has that deep bluing, that's what I've come to expect on the PM-63, right? Well, this new one, it's been refinished, guys. Let me see if I can hold them both up in the same light. And it's hard. I don't have a real expensive camera, so I know it's going to be hard to see, guys, but trust me, the finish on this new offering is much more dull, and you can just see the way the light's shining off of it, right? The difference. Just a dull, matte, kind of gritty park finish versus this nice, you know, bluing that they had on the originals. So I was already kind of a little bummed out. Like, you know, come on, guys. You couldn't blue these guns. Before I go any further, let's just say this. This gun wasn't cheap. And this is kind of where the little bit of frustration started. So, Classic Firearms got these guns. And I was so excited when I heard they had them. Because, again, I've been waiting on this since Pioneer first announced this about 5-6 years ago. And they popped them up and they did a video. And they were selling these for $800. So, it took me all of about 3 seconds to buy one. Luckily, I reacted in 3 seconds because 15 minutes later, they were gone. So I originally bought this pistol for $800. I was so excited. I was actually eating lunch with a friend, and I said, man, check this out. I'm going to show you this gun that I just purchased, right? So, excuse me. So I went to my email to show him, and I had an email from Classic. And I was like, oh, man. Well, next day, Classic had sent me an email saying, hey, we're sorry, we made a mistake. We put these guns for sale for $800. We read our invoice wrong or something along those lines, and we were supposed to be charging $800 for parts kits. And we have way more than $800 into the gun. Now we need to charge $1,300 for it. We've refunded your money, so they refunded me my $800 plus tax and shipping back. However, if you call us here soon, you can still reserve yourself one at $1,300, and you can still make the order. And for your trouble, we'll give you $50 off. So at first I was kind of like, man, screw that. You know, I'm not going to spend that much more, $500 more. But I still did it anyways because I had already known that these guns were supposed to be retailing for about $1,500 with basically a matte pricing of around $1,400. And I had known this just due to the fact that Centerfire kind of leaked out a price on their website and people have been talking. So I kind of knew when they were $800 that this was kind of almost too good to be true. But I was still really hoping to get it for $800, right? But then when I realized it's really, you know, $1,300 introductory price at Classic, and they were willing to give me $50 off, it's one of those kind of things where, you know, in principle, I kind of didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to cut off my nose to spite my face. So, you know, and I do appreciate, here's the thing, this isn't about ripping on Classic. They made an honest mistake. They came back. They did apologize for the mistake. They did give me $50 rather, off of the $1,300 introductory price. I kind of already knew they were supposed to be $1,500 anyway, so whatever. So anyways, this ended up running $1,250. Okay, so with that said, you know, I was like, okay, whatever. So I got the gun in. And again, this matte parkerized finish, kind of bugging me right off the bat. Because this wasn't a cheap gun. And back to what I was getting at earlier, I think that for the money that Pioneer or Interarms or whoever actually made this charged, I think they could have probably, you know, retained the original bluing and then taken the time to blue the newly manufactured parts that they had to create to finish this gun. I think instead what they decided to do is just parkerize everything so they didn't have to worry about going through the cost and time to put a nice deep, you know, polished blue finish on the rest of the gun. So, yeah, it's parkerized. All right, so I got it out of the box, and I'm looking at it. And now what makes this gun legal to have in the United States here is a couple things. First of all, they had to make it semi-automatic because after 86, regular people that don't pay a special occupational tax aren't allowed to have machine guns, right? That weren't registered before May of 1986. So first they had to do the whole machine gun to semi-auto conversion, which I understood that. The next thing they did is, while it's legal to own an SBR in the United States, you have to fill out the proper paperwork, background checks, pay a tax stamp, and wait for anywhere between weeks to a year. I've heard both. And then upon approval, you can have an SBR. Well, instead of bringing them in as National Firearms Act, because that would have been some import problems, Instead, what they did is brought these in as just regular Title I firearms. This is a pistol. And what makes it a pistol is there's two features on here that they had to kind of disable, if you will. First of all, the regular PM-63 has a kind of a telescoping stock, if you would. So if you look at these little bars, there's a bar here on this side, also on the other side. This is actually part of a stock mechanism where there's a little keeper here and a little detent, and that kind of stops the stock from moving, if you will. Now this is spring loaded, so it'll automatically return closed. See? So the user would have simply pushed down on this, grabbed onto the stock, because this used to be a stock, and then just pulled backwards, right? And when they pull backwards, there's a little camming mechanism in here, that round camming mechanism here. You can see the other side of it here. Would have allowed the stock, after it came out, to kind of angle back a little bit, okay? And I actually have the piece to the parts kit to show you guys a little bit about how that would work. So, here's the same piece off of my parts kit, which the parts kit was obviously a machine pistol, submachine gun, so it had a working stock in its original military outfit. You can see that little spring sticking out here I was talking about earlier that kind of holds the stock normally closed, and the user has to actually act on this little lever to be able to release it, which makes sense. So what would happen is you push on that little lever to release it, you pull this to the rear of the gun, it would cam down slightly, you know, maybe something about like that, and then they would be able to grab onto this little tab here, flip it around, and this becomes your butt plate. So the gun would look something like this, right? Which is pretty handy, actually. Well, to keep it from being an SBR, what they've done is they put a small little spot weld, a little tack weld, if you will, right here on the camming mechanism. And that does two things. First of all, it keeps you from being able to just simply pull the stock backwards because it's tack welded, and it's also not going to cam. So this fits the ATF's approval for a non-functioning stock. So as far as the ATF's concerned, this is just an extra little weight and cosmetic feature on the gun. It's not a stock. Okay. You guys are probably familiar with that, how Pioneer did with their PPS-43C pistols, right? Same thing. They folded the stock up, put a little tack weld on the mechanism to where you can't easily and readily use it as a stock. The other thing is the PM-63 RAK is supposed to have a foregrip. Now, this is how it would normally look folded up. And what they've done to keep this from being called an any other weapon, because if you have a gun without a stock and the barrel's shorter than 16 inches and the gun is shorter than 26 inches, you basically can't have a forward grip on it. If you put a forward grip on a pistol, it now becomes what's called an any other weapon. And while it's only a $5 tax stamp, it's still a tax stamp nonetheless. And it makes this a National Firearms Act weapon, and it would again make it hard to import. So again, what they've done is in similar fashion, they've disabled this foregrip. Now, right now, with it being folded, this is not considered a foregrip, a vertical foregrip rather. The law says vertical foregrip, I'm sorry. This is kind of an angled foregrip. Just like, you know, you can have a mag pull AFG on your AR pistol. That's basically what this is right now. However, I still have the part from the parts kit I'll show you here, so you can see how that was supposed to work. So, here's the part from the parts kit. You can see it's the same thing almost, right? The difference is, on this, there's a button here that you would push, a spring-loaded button, and when you pushed it in, it would release the tension and allow this to come down. Well, it can't because, again, we can't have a vertical foregrip on a pistol in this country. So I'll show you on the other one how it actually works. There's a button on this side, and when you push the button in, it allows the vertical foregrip to come down and allows the user to hold on to the weapon like this. So basically imagine there we go. It would look something like this, right? So imagine this on the front, folded down, that's your foregrip. And then the stock off the back to shoulder it. So it actually makes this quite the little portable PDW weapon, right? which is pretty cool. So with this being a pistol, if I keep it just like it is, Title I firearm, nothing to do with the National Firearms Act, it's completely legal to own just like this. Now what I can do, and what I think would be pretty neat, is I can first apply to the ATF for what's called a tax stamp. Upon background check, approval, fingerprints, all that good stuff, upon approval and receipt, and $200 for the tax stamp, once I get that first, and it's in hand, then I can actually legally go here, break this little spot weld. This isn't really a weld, there's something else going on in here. Either find out what's going on in here and change that to where it works again, or maybe just swap it out with this one, right? Because there's one more thing that they did too that I'll show you to kind of disable this, if you will. If you look at the bottom of this pistol, you can see that there's a screw here. And this keeper screw is actually serving a function to hold the foregrip assembly on, right? But in this case, they screwed all the way through the folding part to hold it another way. Whereas if you look at the original, you'll see there's not a screw hole here, but the screw hole is actually located down under here. So normally, if this was a functional foregrip, angle grip, you would see it would get secured down underneath the folding part so the screw would not inhibit its function. What they did here is they just simply drilled through this outer piece, used a longer screw obviously, and it made it where the screw is also keeping it closed. And I would note that it obviously has to be a longer screw because it's now going through an extra ½ inch thick of plastic. And also, when Pioneer sourced the screw for it, they went to a Phillips bent driver screw. Whereas in my parts kit, the original screw that would have held it in under here is actually a flathead that looked just like this screw that holds the side and also helps retain the bottom of the trigger guard. So just little details like that you can see. It's a little bit different that they had to do to make this where it does not have a vertical foregrip and it also does not have a stock. So there you go. Okay, so basically after I checked out some of those differences, looked at the cosmetic things, I went to test the function of the gun. So I'll show you guys some of the stuff I found. Okay, so magazine inserted. This is unlike a lot of other sub guns, where a lot of sub guns, you know, or machine pistols, the bolt reciprocates inside of the frame of the gun, right? This actually is just like almost any other small pistol, where the slide itself is actually what reciprocates on the frame. So as it reciprocates back, you can see we have a last round bolt hold open. The magazine actually has a device in it that comes up. It's not really a device, it's more just like this little sliding piece that slides up and it stops the slide in the rear position. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't seem to have last round bolt hold open, because as soon as I push the release, which the release is down under here, you can see there's just a little tab here. It's just a little piece of like sheet metal that has spring tension on it. So the user can grab the mag like this, put your thumb in that little recess, push it in and pull down on the mag, and as soon as I do that, you saw the slide just went home. So it doesn't retain its bolt hole open. So this would be a lot like for you AK guys, like if you have an AK with a Yugo mag, where the follower actually holds the bolt open, but unless it's an M64, which is different, as soon as you release that mag and rock it out of there, the carrier goes forward, right? This is kind of similar in that, meaning it's bolt hold open, but then when you release the mag, it just closes on its own. I don't own a real one of these, so I'm not sure if that's how it always worked or if that's just something that happened during the semi-auto conversion. If anyone knows, they can let me know on that too. Okay, so besides the gritty, kind of rough Parkerized finish that's on this gun, upon me cycling the action the first couple times, I don't know if you guys can hear that, I noticed it's also quite gritty. And if you notice, I just pulled the action back and it's stuck. So there we go. Just went home. So let's just say on this particular pistol, right off the bat, I could tell the fit and finish and the overall machining, not really the best. I mean, if I come all the way back to the rear and just let go, it does go forward. So it's probably going to be okay when I fire it. However, on most, you know, higher quality pistols and stuff that I own, I can, you know, pull it back, kind of ride the slide forward a little bit, and it'll smoothly go forward. This one, if I just hold on to that slide for just a little bit and kind of ease it forward, it stops on me. So again, if I just let go, it goes, but I can kind of feel the grittiness, and it kind of has a couple hitches in it as it goes forward. Can you hear the hitches? Feel that it's kind of like a delay, right? Even if I just let go and slingshot it, it still has like a little bit of a delayed forward motion. And then there you go. That time I actually pulled it all the way back and let go. Stayed forward again. So, or to the rear rather. Okay, so not only does it cosmetically not look good, but it's got a little bit of a grittiness to it. By the way, I keep putting my hand here for a reason. No, I'm not trying to muzzle my hand, and yes, I know the gun's unloaded, obviously. I just got done taking it apart 3 times. I don't even have any 9mm Makarov ammo in the room, okay? So, what's kind of cool about this gun is if you're trying to rack the slide and your other hand's tied up, like holding something else or whatever, you can just go up to a hard surface. The slant brake, which is not too much different than an AK brake. The AK slant brake is like this, like the sugar screw, but on an angle. This is straight, so this is your muzzle brake, right? Helps keep pressure down on the muzzle to keep the gun from rising during full auto fire. The other cool thing about this is it protrudes 2.5 inches or so past the actual muzzle, the barrel. So you can just put this up against a hard surface, push forward like that, and that's going to completely rack the firearm and load the next round. So I thought that was pretty cool. That is a cool feature to show you guys. But then again, if you just kind of ease it back just even a little bit, we're back to this again, you know. And now mind you guys, you'll see when I take this apart, everything inside is soaking wet with oil. I've already taken this apart. I already oiled everything thoroughly. I've dry cycled this slide probably 200 times, to be honest with you, just hoping something would get a little bit more broken in and free. But still not there yet. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, but first time I've, in all honesty, bought a $1,400 pistol that right from the factory kind of had to do this to it. Alright. So, whereas this gun was an open bolt machine gun, they've converted this obviously to fire from a closed bolt, which the ATF has said for a long time now. Semi-autos have to fire from a closed bolt. And there's 2 ways they can do this. They can either do what's called a striker fired or a hammer fired. In this case, it's a hammer. So, which is what, by the way, the hammer is what's causing a lot of this drag. I get it. It's just they could have spent a little more time with a little bit of fit and finish in there. So the trigger, which is plastic. It has a plastic trigger. Kind of feels like a high point trigger almost, if you will. I'll try to show you the trigger pull. It's got a bunch of creep. Can you hear that? And then when it finally gets rid of it, it's a real mushy, unpredictable creep, and then it breaks very easily, but yet mushy. I mean, it's mushy all the way through. But upon re-racking it, it actually has a very short and audible reset, and then it's actually not quite as bad. So the reset's actually pretty good on this trigger. Very short reset travel. It's just mushy. Even though it breaks pretty easily, like it's got low poundage to it, it's still pretty mushy. And I will note that when I hold the trigger down, the slide instantly is free. I mean, it feels so much smoother right off the bat. So it's definitely the hammer and the disconnector and the linkage in there that's actually causing a lot of this hitch. So, in full disclosure, part of the reason that I'm having these issues is because this is a semi-auto conversion. I get it. I know on all semi-auto machine guns they have to do some things to make it work. But it seems like they could have maybe taken a little more time, figured out the geometry inside a little bit better, and done a little bit more polishing and finishing, considering how this is a $1,500 retail gun. Just my 2 cents, right? You know, it's kind of like, you know, you guys know what I mean, right? All right. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely torture myself and try to take this gun apart on camera, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not. I'm not going to edit this. You're either going to see me struggle or you're going to see me just give up and end the video with the gun in pieces. One of the two. But I'm going to try my best. So here's how it all starts. We have a safety here. And the safety is also going to serve as our slide hold open. We'll also notice here on the gun, there's two notches there for takedown. There's also a notch, on the slide. And then there's also on the firearm itself another notch. What I'm going to do is try to get this notch here to line up in between these two. That's going to be the takedown position, right? So I'm going to pull it back in between. And I'm sorry, guys, now I can't show you closer. This is the best I can do on this. This one's tough. So I'm going back. I'm fighting that hitch there. And now that I'm in between the two, there we go. Now I have the slide locked to the rear, okay? That's where it starts. Now we're going to go up here to the barrel. And we're going to notice the barrel right away has these serrations in it, these grooves. This is going to remind you of like some of the old Browning type designs, right? Some of Browning's early pistols had this same design. And to take this down, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the barrel by grabbing onto these serrations, and I'm going to turn it clockwise, okay, until it stops. So see how I'm moving the barrel sideways here? I'm rotating it. So I'm going to turn it all the way clockwise till it stops. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is take some spring tension off the gun. I'm trying to get this where you guys can see it. Take some spring tension off the gun, and I'm going to release this safety / slide stop. And then the gun's going to go forward, right? Or the slide's going to go forward. Well, it kind of goes forward, and then it just stops. And it feels like super, super rough. And when I mean rough, I'm talking like rough. So here's what I'm going to do. I have to get back here and really just brace this on my chest. And I hate to say this, but I kind of got to give it my all, guys. So I'm going to push forward here. There we go. I'm not faking. That literally took probably 30, 40 pounds of pressure, okay, to get it to overcome the hammer and all that mechanism to get past the hammer. So now I'm free, right? Well, the fun's only started. So what you're supposed to, in theory, be able to do now is simply take this slide and lift it out of the gun. I've not been able to do that even one time yet. Now, you can't push the slide all the way forward and off. It's not like some guns, like a Glock, where once you release it, you just pull it all the way off. This gun doesn't work that way, and it's not supposed to. So if I just try to go forward, see, I run up against the brick wall there. It's not going to go forward anymore. That's understandable. That's not how the gun's supposed to work. So what I have to do is get the slide out just a little bit here. And I'm supposed to be able, at this point, just grab onto the slide and lift it up. Now, what I found works best to do this is to kind of get my screwdriver under here, lift up a little bit there, which I got it to move a little bit, and then just kind of come over with a hammer, give it a few good whacks, and there we go. I got the slide and recoil spring mechanism to come off. I'm not faking this, guys. Like, literally, this is the only way I've been able to get this off so far, is by starting with a screwdriver to pry and using the hammer to finish getting it off. But you have to be careful because there's a couple recesses in this slide here. There's a recess right here. See where the slide has a recess? You have to have it lined up just right with where the recess is in the frame. Because if you go prying and pounding and it's just off by even just a teeny bit, you're not going to be able to get this off. And you could pry and chip and break the gun before you get it off. So what I found I have to do is get it lined up just right, then pry with a screwdriver, then hit it with a hammer, and I'm able to disassemble my my pistol. So we've done a basic field strip. Well, I'll go a little bit further here for you guys. The spring just simply sits in this little recessed pocket in the front of the slide, so I can pull the spring out, and you'll note there's a guide rod attached, which goes to the rear of the firearm. This actually fits in a cavity that's down in the frame. You can see there's a hole way down under there. This inserts. Again, you have to line it up just right. Everything's real finicky on this gun, guys. And then this will actually slide inside of there. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So, here's your basic field strip. You'll see this gun has a hammer. And I'm going to put my finger here so I don't risk breaking anything. Pull the trigger. Hammer goes forward. I'm going to push it back in place here until I feel it reset. And the reset's not very audible. It's kind of like a mushy mush, but I got it back in there. So yeah, here's the field stripped receiver. Now, while I have this apart, I'm going to show you guys a couple little things here that I noticed with the slides that are a little bit different on the original versus this semi-auto conversion. Okay, here's our two slides. The top one is the original. The bottom one is this Pioneer Interarms conversion. And you can just see right now in the light, right? The difference between the nice bluing on top versus this matte dull Parkerizing on the bottom. I hope the lighting's good enough for you guys can see the difference, because trust me, in real life it's completely different. Now we're going to look at the bottom. And we're going to notice what they did is they actually took some metal off of the slide for the semi-automatic conversion. And we'll note that it starts here near the top. You'll see on the machine pistol version, there's an extra protrusion of metal here. On the semi-auto, this is completely flush. So they've ground and machined that off. You're also going to notice as we come down lower here, in this hand is the machine pistol. This is the semi-auto. You're going to note how much material was removed from the semi-auto here versus the machine pistol. You can see they've basically removed all of this area right here on the semi-auto. You can see there's a solid strip of steel all the way here on the machine pistol. So they've removed all of this steel. And I think that's for two reasons. First of all, it's to try to keep it from tripping an auto sear. They don't want somebody to try to get fancy and put some of the full auto components back into their pistol, which, trust me, you cannot readily do. This would take some experienced gunsmithing, and you would have to knowingly try. You'd have to drill extra pinholes out. You'd have to do all kinds of stuff. But even then, I think they've done some of this milling to keep somebody from being able to trip that auto sear if they were to be able to fabricate it back in. And the other reason is, with this being a semi-auto hammer fired, they also did this to lighten the weapon some, to remove some of this weight to get it to function reliably. So there's a couple reasons for that. Whereas with the open bolt machine gun, the weight of the mass was basically all that would hold it back, and the rate reducer or retarder that they put in the gun would help slow it down. Whereas now we have a hammer and other things like that that are dragging and exerting force on the slide, so it tends to work better if they lighten it up. Now, I'm not a gunsmith, so I may have said some of that wrong, but I think you guys get the point. So they've definitely modified and cut out large areas of this portion of the slide on the semi-auto versus where it's still retained here on the machine pistol slide. And then they've completely eliminated on the semi-auto this protrusion of steel right here. So yeah, there's a couple differences. Let me think of what else I missed on here. Oh, the barrel. Let's see if I can get the barrel to come out. This ought to be fun. Alright. Sorry, I'm not showing you guys. I actually didn't take the barrel down. I meant for this to be like the very first time I did this. And I just had a gut feeling that I should go in there and, you know, kind of check things out first. And I'm kind of glad I did, because, man, there was a train wreck trying to get this thing apart. I had to trial and error, figure out the exact position this slide was supposed to be in before I knew where I could have the confidence to pry it up with a screwdriver and then hit it with a hammer. So trust me, guys, as cumbersome and awkward as this video is, it would have been much, much worse if I hadn't gone into this gun a couple times before. but I've not taken the barrel out yet. So let me see here. I believe it's something where I'm, okay, there we go. So basically I'm letting it go all the way to the front, and then I'm going to let it come back a little bit and push down on an angle. So the front's going to angle up, the rear's going to angle down, and I'm able to then remove the barrel. So there we go. Now the barrel's out. I will note with this barrel is chrome lined. You can see the chrome right there. The other thing I would note with this barrel is there's a couple small proof marks. You guys can see I wasn't joking. I slathered this thing, this whole thing, all of it in oil, soaking wet, just to try to get it where it was a little smoother, which kind of to no avail, to be honest, but oh well. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this because, again, this isn't the best camera, but there's a little proof mark here that has a 16 stamped in there. And they didn't stamp it very well, but it says 16 right here. And I'm sorry, my camera's just not going to focus on it, guys. This is a real, there we go, 16. It just focused. So catch that real quick here. There's a roll mark with a 16. So from other Polish mill serps I have, whenever there's that little date there, that's usually the year. So you might see a 71 if it was 1971, a 68 if it was 68. So since we know this wasn't 1916, we're going to assume this barrel was made in 2016. And I will also note the barrel has a serial number on it. And where the original barrel, I have the barrel pieces in my kit over there. I probably should have grabbed those. Has the same, serial number as the gun. I'll note that this barrel here has a completely different number. Yep, I'm confirming it right now. So, kind of laser etched more than roll marked into the side, we have a serial number for the barrel. Let's see if I can get that to focus in. There we go. You guys can see that just perfect there. And this says PAC 1122776. So with this barrel bearing a different serial number than the gun and having a 16 proof marked into it, I think I can only come to two conclusions. What I'm guessing it probably is this is probably a modern production barrel. However, we can't be certain of that. What they could have also done is taken an original parts kit barrel, because since these were never imported into the U.S., they didn't have to be cut up like the barrels do on our parts kits, right? So I'm wondering if they either made this barrel brand new, which is kind of a little hard to believe. Like, I'm kind of leaning towards that, but yet then again, this is a chrome line barrel. And Pioneer isn't really known for chrome lining things. Now, with this having an Interarms name, maybe Interarms does chrome things. So there's just so much confusion about this gun. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of it, okay? And a buddy of mine, Mishiko, I know he's going to do a video on this. I know he has one. He may have his video up before me. I don't know. Maybe he can help us too, guys. But as of right now, I'm still trying to figure out what the verdict is with this barrel. And by the way, if you don't already sub to Mishiko, I strongly recommend it. Misha's a great guy. Jay's a great guy. Great channel, guys. I'm struggling and fumbling through this. I'm sure Misha's going to do this review with ease, but hey. Anyways, so this could either be a new production barrel, chrome lined, with this modern serial number, or what they could have done, since this never came into the country, into the United States, never had to be cut up like these current barrels, this could be the original submachine gun barrel that they kind of repurposed, if you will. It's possible Pioneer or Interarms or whoever actually built this gun might have kind of ground off the markings over there on the barrel and ground off the original proof marks and stamped this 16 and this new PAC prefix serial number. So we'll find out more later on this, but right now let's just say there's a couple possibilities. This is either a new produced barrel or it's an old one that was kind of refinished and renumbered. All right, now for the fun part. And I just know I'm going to get embarrassed here. Now I get to try to put this sucker back together. Okay, so I got the barrel back in. I'm getting somewhere, right? Now I know there's a little pocket here where it's relieved, where I'm going to have to get these little locking interface of the barrel to line up. So I'm going to put that in there. And let me think here. It was to the right for me to do it clockwise. So I'm going to go back and find that little recess, and I'm going to turn it clockwise again. So there we go. The barrel's clockwise. Okay. Now we're going to come back to the frame of the pistol. And I'm going to start off by putting this guide rod in first. And there's some other stuff I'm going to show you guys on this gun. I just see that I'm at 45 minutes, and there's some things on the frame that's quite interesting that I could do right now, but then it's going to make this video go into 2 hours, and you guys probably really aren't in the mood for that right now. So, at the expense of making it go even longer, I'm going to just kind of put this gun back together and wrap it up for today. But I will note, and I'll give you guys a quick teaser here. Let me just give you a real quick teaser. I will note that there's some drastic differences between this original cut receiver section and this semi-auto. So I think some things should be jumping out to you guys right now. But we'll go over this more in depth later when I do a parts kit, you know, more of a parts kit review. All right, so I've got the guide rod in here and the spring. And again, guys, before anyone criticizes me, you can criticize me, I don't care. Yes, I could have spent hours just mastering every part of this. My point is to kind of, for you guys that just got these in, just to kind of show you what you're going to go through right out of the box. And I thought maybe if you could experience it with me, you know, you might be able to, it might help you a little bit. And if it doesn't help you, hey, at least I'm providing you some entertainment so you can all laugh at me. Okay, so I put the spring back in the front here. Now I'm going to try to get the slide back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, I was able to get it to fall in place that time. That's actually a lot better than I thought it would. So the slide is down into the frame recess. I'm going to push back a little bit here. Now this is back where now I'm going to have to overcome that same force that was really, really stopping me earlier, right? I'm going to have to overcome that same force here to try to get it to come back over this semi-auto assembly here. And I will note there's this little stupid thing in here. Let me see if it'll show up. It's kind of a purplish color right there. See that little guy? That moves back and forth. See how there's spring-loaded tension on that? Make sure that that's in the proper rearward position before you try to put this back together, or that little guy is going to stop you. So that's something I learned the hard way last time too. So now I'm going to try to come to the rearward with this gun. I have to bring that little guy, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Not up, but this actually has to be down. So that little purple part has to be down like this. Okay. Okay. So I finally was able to overcome that time about 40, 50 pounds of force to get the slide to come back. I'm going to come back over to this side again. I think I got this right. And I'm going to line up. I have to make sure this barrel stays like this, guys. Because if this barrel starts to wind itself to the counterclockwise, it's not going to go together right. So keep the barrel nice and snug on the clockwise position. I'm going to come back to the rear. Sorry, guys, I have to take it off camera a little bit. I'm going to line up that bottom takedown notch in between the other two, right here like that. Now, with it locked to the rear with the safety / slide lock, now I'm going to take the barrel and do the opposite. Now I'm going to go counterclockwise with the barrel. You can see that's turning there. The barrel and those locking mechanisms, it's kind of a cam locked barrel, so that's going to hold it in place now. And this barrel is what holds the slide on the gun, similar to old Browning. So now I should be good to keep. I'm going to keep the spring pressure off the slide for a second here. I'm going to release the safety. And now the gun should return home in the battery. And it did. Let's function check real quick. All right. Appears to be working just fine. Still does this. But yeah. So this is the much anticipated, long awaited Interarms / Pioneer PM-63C. It's a semi-auto clone of the PM-63, otherwise known as the PM-63 RAK. What's interesting about that, by the way, guys, a quick piece of trivia. This gun's officially designated the WZ63, or the PMWZ63, also known as the PM-63, and what it's most commonly called is the PM-63 RAK, so PM-63 RAK. And RAK actually quite literally in Polish translates to cancer. I know that's weird, but this gun is kind of affectionately and commonly known as the PM-63 RAK, or the 63 RAK. And again, to translate, this is a PM-63 cancer gun. So there you go. I actually didn't struggle as bad as I thought, but just remember, when you guys go to take this gun down, there's a couple things you really have to consider. You have to find the takedown notch. That's an easy part. Line up little hash marks. And just remember, rotate the barrel. And when you do rotate the barrel, it's going to come forward. You're going to come forward a couple inches, and you're going to just be convinced at that point that it's just not going to come apart. You're going to feel like a really, really hard friction type feel. You just have to somehow overcome that friction forward. Now you're released from the semi-auto firing mechanism. Once you do that, that's still only half the battle. You have to find just the right spot on the slide and line it up just right where those pockets coincide. And then, in theory, and hopefully you guys have a better made gun than mine, but in theory, you should be able to just grasp the slide, lift it off, and set it aside and do your field strip. In my case, it involves prying, hammering, cursing, praying, and a little bit of luck. So, I don't know, guys. I'm not trying to be too negative. I've not fired the gun yet. It's kind of a dream come true to finally have an actual, hopefully functioning, complete PM-63, guys. So, in a way, I'm really, really stoked. I've had this kit for a long time, and I've been looking at this kit for years, just dreaming that one day Pioneer, because they've been promising this for 5-6 years, guys, would actually come through. And they came through. I don't like the finish. I don't like the actual type of finish. I don't like the fit and finish. There's a lot of machining marks, grittiness that they should have corrected. And when I say machining marks, I don't mean on the Polish parts of this gun. I mean on the receiver, which I'm just not going to have time to get into that today, guys. Sorry. But I'll go over more of how I think that they recreated this receiver or how they made a modern production of it. And I'll show you some of the differences in another video. But for now, let's just say the parts that Pioneer and Interarms did, a lot of parts of the inside of this gun, just to be blunt with y'all, is more similar to what you'd expect to see on the inside of a High Point than it would be a $1,400, $1,500 pistol. So just get ready. Now, people that own more submachine gun and machine pistol conversions than me, you might tell me, hey, that's par for the course. All these converted machine guns are pretty rough inside. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. I will say that my PPS-43Cs from Pioneer were put together with a much nicer cosmetic finish as well as the fit and finish of the internals than this gun. So I'm kind of a little bit let down on that. We'll see. We'll see how it functions. We'll see how it fires. I'm not going to give it a complete failing grade, but right now I'm just going to say, nah, not quite exactly what I was looking forward to. But anyways, this is kind of my my best attempt at just a little introduction on the much-awaited PM-63C pistol from Interarms and Pioneer. It was rough when I bought it. I paid money for it once, got my money back, paid over 50% more the second time. I'm not throwing Classic under the bus for this. I'm just saying it started off a little bit of a roller coaster, and yeah. All right, guys, PM-63 RAK. It is pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think. Sorry to bore you, and hopefully this will serve as more of a podcast or keeping your mind busy while you're at work, guys, or while you got a long drive to work. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, any other guys that own this. That'd be great. I can talk about it some more on my next live stream if you guys are interested. And I will be back to do a little more info on the frame and some other things. So, like I said, stay tuned. We'll try to talk about it more. I'm going to get out and fire it here in the next few days, give you guys a little range report. But until then, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one.